What do you do? What do you use to differentiate the difference between a dead chart versus an amazing opportunity? I wish I was scooping up Robinhood during that base. I won't miss it next bear market.
It's a great question. I think the difference between the it's not so much the chart is dead, it's if the company is dead or not. So if you take a company like Zoom, whom I love to use the product, but it's not a great investment, or Zillow, um, if you compare that with Robinhood, which Robinhood I think was attacked because it decentralized investment opportunity into the market. And from the beginning, they had a great fan base, great business, great CEO. Not just saying that because he's a friend of the show, but I think they had a great business. And over time, it will only be so long that you can hold a great executive and a great company down. If you compare that with a Hertz, the profit margin's terrible. Executive management is not that great. They don't really have a lead. They don't have a product that people love. And there's no opportunity for gross margin or profit margin increases there. I think the difference is just knowing a great company from a bad one. My rule of thumb has always been if you have to ask, is a company good? It's not. Greatness you can't avoid. Um, but when there are opportunities when a company is flat, like how Robinhood was at that $11 to $15 range, I've stated before, you want to stack as many shares as you can before they take off. Same with Nvidia, same with AMD. We can go to Tesla before Kathy Wood made her proclamation on CNBC and they laughed her off stage, and then Tesla took off to the upside. If you believe in a great company, you should throw as many shares as you can into it. And I've always said, like, you want to be in a position minimum to get to 1,000 shares and then ultimately 10,000, because at that number, you can write your own ticket for life for how much money you're able to produce out of the market. So don't look at it so much of a dead chart, but is the company dead or not?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I would be looking at the value, right? If you want to see where a company's moving or how many people are interested in the company, look at the value, how it's trading on a daily basis, how it's trading on a weekly basis, how it's trading on a monthly basis. I would look at the trends of the candle. Like if you use candlesticks, look at the trends and where they're going. You can see momentum, right? I think that's one thing that people can see. Like when they just use a singular line, yeah, it looks pretty preschool. But if you just put candles on, you start seeing momentum. You see green, you see red. You look at which way that the momentum is going. Sometimes that's a good indicator. I know RSI is something that I use. Ian, I know it's not the biggest fan of it, but it
Well,
tells you where
95.5, I don't like the 70/30 or 80/20.
I can do 80/20. I can do 80/20 on ours. Again, it's just giving me direction or where the trend is headed, right? So if something is overbought or oversold, that it tells me a little bit about what the market is doing with it. So when you see that and all those things are aligning and you see an upward trend and you start to see green ticks in your candle, there's momentum that's moving up, and it's okay. Somebody said this the other day. They were like, it's okay that you miss the first 5 to 6% on the way up.
Yeah,
Just don't
you can
don't
always
just
get in
don't
later.
miss the 30% move. It's okay. And a lot of times people say, all right, well, it went up 5% today. I got to wait for it to pull back. No, this still might be a good time for you to get into that position.
Also too, in closing, I think a lot of, like, in the Balmer era, the candles may not have been representative of the value of the company because of who the leadership was. Then when Satya came in, it took off to the upside, but Microsoft still was Microsoft. Even while Apple was putting out the I'm a Mac versus PC campaign, continually invested through. I think we are at an inflection point where Apple, I think we've hit the top or the maximization as Cook as CEO. I think he should move to chairman. I think Apple will have a tremendous run if he is replaced and there's a new CEO that brings in new ideas, um, and articulates the future of Apple a lot better over like the next 5 or 6 years. So a lot of times that catalyst could be executive management change, product change, or focus in certain areas. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Alice
I don't
investment.
care if Microsoft stayed flat for 40 years. I would have continually invested in the base on the profit margin, gross margin, market share dominance that they had.
Okay. Let's talk about this. With the economy down 0.2% in Q1, are we just late to call it, or is this contraction the first domino in something bigger?
Anything with GDP and recession, I don't even think we should talk about it anymore because if it's not going to be caught fairly, as long as we're not -5%, I'm fine. Powell and Trump are still having their battles back and forth. I don't know how that's going to land and how it's going to finish, but as long as we're in somewhat positive territory, I think we'll be okay. We've talked about it before. The stock market and the economy are not exclusively tied to each other one to one. So we're seeing great liftoff in AI stocks and certain sectors, but it may not be reflective of the total economy. But I wouldn't worry about this day to day. I don't think it's really important unless we actually hit 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. And even if so, will they announce it?
No,
So
no, they
once
won't.
those rules change, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, and they're gonna help. They're gonna help, right? 2 rate cuts, they'll help. They'll help.
Do we think we'll actually get a rate cut?
I think so.
Why? And why is one needed?
Uh well, outside of the pressure from the president, right? If we look at GDP, if we look at CPI, if we look at the unemployment rate, will those increase over the next couple of months, summer months, as we look at automation going into the third and fourth quarter? I think so. When you hear companies like a Salesforce saying they're using 50% of the companies is AI now, there's going to be jobless claims, and we know how this works, right? If more people lose their jobs, right, unemployment rises, then it says that we need to the affordability of things become higher. People don't have it; they'll have to make some cuts. Will it happen in a drastic fashion? No. Has it stayed steady for the past few months? It has. Um, but like I said, I think we're headed for a nice pullback here in July, and may see another one in August. So I think so. I think it happens in. I know everybody has it for July and December. September is creeping up as maybe that third option. I think it happens in September though.
A controversial question given who's in office. Should we have a president's term last for 10 years?
For 10 years?
Because
With this president
short-sighted
or
nature,
presidents in general?
huh?
Presidents after this one?
Given the short-sighted nature of getting a chance to run a country for a year or two, just even looking at student loan debt. I remember when the student loan number was in the billions. Now we're close to 3 trillion in debt. Another controversial take. I think at some point colleges should go to only having 8 specialties per school. You get to pick your 8, but I don't think we should be able to have a history of fine rap trap music as a bachelor degree while you getting financed for $120,000 worth of debt. But I think the short-sighted nature of running the country, because you really only get a year and a half, 2 years, and then you have to campaign again, is the short-sighted nature versus China having a longer regime and being able to do things on a long-term basis hurting our country. Because no one wants to say it, but we're almost at the point of no return where this debt bubble cannot be fixed. Like just the cost of living. Rashad, I ask you, when you went to China, do you feel like you paid more for things in general or way less? I'm talking to a bunch of people that have been traveling, and everything feels 3 to 4x more expensive here.
hmm Well, the thing about it is, I'll say this: 55 to 60% of presidents that have been elected have served 2 terms.
That's a great
So
point.
the odds are in your favor. If you become
Anyway,
president, your odds are that you probably get 8 years of presidency. 60% of the people have done that. But I don't think it's necessarily just so much the presidency, it's the whole political system.
mhm.
So if we do that, I would say, okay, turn everything over.
Congress, senator,
Give them everything.
what would be the solution for a fresh start? That's the better question. Because this current formation of political unrest on both sides, or even on the Democratic side. Like, you haven't had a Democratic primary since when?
16.
But you know what? I think it's difficult to do that in America because
Damn near 10 years.
America's so divided. A lot of countries aren't as divided as America. Meaning, okay, I go to China, right? Now there's 1.2 billion people in China, and there's immigrants in China, but for the most part, it's an understanding that China is for Chinese people. I don't think you can buy land unless you're Chinese. So yeah, they'll welcome you and you can do business and you could live there, but it's well established and well known that China is for Chinese people,
Yeah.
right? That's the same if you go to Saudi Arabia. That's the same if you go to a variety of different countries in the world. And so it makes it easier to have that level of governance because, yeah, there might be division, but ultimately it's one group of people, right? That's easier. As America, there's a million different groups of
It's
people,
fractioned.
and everybody's in it for different agendas and different purposes. And you got, so many different subgroups and ethnic groups and women rights groups and gay and lesbian groups and different things of that nature. So I just think that that's harder to have a unified front of like, hey, just give this one political party everything that they want and let's just see what happens. Whereas the Chinese Communist Party, that's essentially what happens, right? The Chinese Communist Party, they have control and they do what they want to do. Or the Saudi royal family, they have control, they do what they want to do. Or UAE royal family, they have control and they do what they want to do, right? So in theory, I think that it can work, but I don't know if America
It's ready.
is the testing ground for that.
Because you have to rip off the illusion of democracy here and reprogram.
If you do 10-year, I feel like age limit for sure. Right, like, I mean, like our current president is 79 years old. 9 years, I mean, he'll be nearly 90.
Okay. How old was Biden when he got in office? Because
76, 75.
Yeah. And I'm staying out of politics, so I'll call it a spade across.
He might have been 77. Yeah, 77 because he turned 81 last year. Damn.
Do you think the Democrats not having a primary hurt them?
Hurt them this year?
No, they had a primary in 2000, right? Because Biden won. 2020. Hillary lost in 16 and Biden won in 2020. Yeah.
And it was snatched from Rashad. I'm done. I saw the look. Gotcha.
I don't want to offend my political connects.
I'm done. I promise you.